Um, we'll kick into gear, guys. We've got a couple of people coming, but if they can come halfway through, that's fine, whatever. Thank you all for sacrificing your morning. Great to see you all. I think we've got probably just as many figure eight team here for the free breakfast as we do customers, which is good. 50-50, I think. So the idea of today, which I had up before, is to give you a bit of a crash course. Now, I'm not sure where you are in your AI journey. We're certainly like way down the track. I do a lot of AI stuff on a day-to-day basis. So I'll start with the basics and we'll kind of flow into a couple of different things. So I'll talk a little bit about AI in general and what that means for business, the different types of AI if you're not too familiar. And then we'll move into where the experts can actually have the floor. We've got just a bit of a shout out. We've got Lauren, Matthew and Michael. Where are we? There we go, split across two. They're both all of them are from Australia, from a company called AvePoint, who are all about the data governance and keeping your data clean, safe and secure before you start throwing AI tools around it. Then after that, we're going to launch into Liam, who works for Ingram Micro, one of our distributors, and he's going to talk about the Copilot journey, which I think most people have or are looking at Copilot. He'll explain some of the ins and outs. So every session is going to be like half an hour, maybe a short break, half an hour, and then another break, and then we'll be finished by probably before 11 o'clock. So you know where the toilets are, past the reception, by the lifts, hang a right. Same as the exits if there's a fire, heaven forbid. And of course, food and coffee, help yourself. So I woke up this morning, which is kind of cool, after my third espresso martini. And I thought about the journey. I've been in IT 35 years, so I was before the internet. I was before cell phones. So I'm a dinosaur. So I've seen it from its infancy, around DOS, DR-DOS, IBM, Microsoft, all the way through to now. And I have to say, this is the time of my career where I'm most excited and most concerned. Concerned in a kind of a good way, but it's been the biggest leap in technology that I've seen across those 35 years. And I was sitting there thinking, when did my kind of AI journey start? And I realized when I woke up this morning that I've been using the technology for, I don't know, hands up, how long has AI been around? Ish, give me a number. How many years? 10 years. Thank you. Yeah, well, pretty much. I mean, AI, having Excel do macros isn't really AI. AI, the definition of AI is all about having kind of a human element to it, acting on behalf of a human to do kind of human tasks. But basic AI is something that I've been using for about 10 years. The technology I started using 10 years ago was voice activated. It would obey my commands. This was 10 years ago. Can anyone think of the technology that I'm talking to? Close? Close. Alexa, what time is it? Maybe she's sleeping. Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 9:33 a.m.
Okay, so I've been using this obviously for about 10 years, actually probably to this day in my house. Who was I talking to? Nick, you were saying you've actually done this and you've actually moved it around your entire house now. So you've got different rooms that respond to different commands from different people in your household, is that correct? Yeah, so I haven't gone that far. I've only got a 50 square foot apartment, so I don't really need the whole thing. I can yell from any part of the room or any part of the apartment. So I took that one step further. Alexa, open Hey ChatGPT.
Okay, here's Hey ChatGPT. Hello, I am a chat robot powered by ChatGPT. Do you want to get started now?
I'm feeling unmotivated today when I woke up. Can you give me any advice?
Sorry, I didn't get your request.
I'm feeling unmotivated today. Can you give me some advice?
I'm glad you asked. Feeling unmotivated happens to everyone. Quick ideas. Do one tiny task for 5 minutes to build momentum.
Alexa, stop. Alexa, music.
Talk to you later.
Alexa, music.
Here's Spotify.
And that will link to my Spotify playlist, right? So I've been using this technology for Alexa, stop. Okay, thank you. So, you know, that's kind of AI at its most basic, but then we've, of course, moved into ChatGPT, the generative, which you're all familiar with, LLMs, hands up anyone who's used ChatGPT, everyone has. That then goes into the agentic side. Obviously, the name suggests agents, where you start having it act on your behalf. We're all familiar with the terminology, aren't we? Okay. Then we start getting into AI workflows. This is where Copilot starts to kick into gear. And of course, Copilot is not the only tool out there, but that's the one we're going to focus on today. And then autonomous AI. In fact, ChatGPT, OpenAI, who have they've come out with a new product called Operator. It's not released yet, it's under beta, but that is the answer to Copilot on a ChatGPT scale. Natural language, do this, do that, click here, click there. That's pretty cutting edge stuff. So that's kind of the journey. They're all intermingled, but that's pretty much AI. Any questions on that? Pretty familiar? Okay. Here's some of the figures, and it's backed up by, you can click on these links and get some of the stats. 87% of New Zealand businesses are now using AI in some form, whether it be Copilot Chat or ChatGPT. Obviously, some are doing a lot more with the AI products and workflows. Certainly one of our customers here, Nick from Retirement Commission, is using a lot of workflow, Power BI stuff. He's gone crazy with those tools. But we've got customers who aren't even using it, all the way through to some crazy cool stuff around generative. 1.2 billion users in under 3 years. It's been the biggest leap in technology, as I alluded to before, than anything else that I've come across. .com bubble, it's bigger than that. It's just, and it's only really in its infancy. We lead the world in adoption. That's probably no surprise, because we've always been like a number 8 wire, kind of a technology hub. Certainly we don't have the numbers here to compete with some of the global players, but we're the first to adapt and the first to acknowledge some of the power behind AI. Benefits in getting an ROI. This is what we are trying to do to help you, is cut through all of the noise, because I go to at least 2, sometimes 3 AI seminars, be it webinars or be it actual, face-to-face meetings every single week. And it's kind of the same stuff. Talks about this, but doesn't actually go into, cool, how can we help you? And that's what Figure 8 is trying to achieve for our customers, is after all the noise, Copilot's low-hanging fruit. We want to come in there and help transform your business. The obvious 4, time saving. I use it constantly. The event invitation that you got from me was produced with vibe coding. I'm not a coder. In about 4 hours, I generated that. This presentation is death by AI, not PowerPoint. I did this in about 4 hours. So people now are vibe coding, building websites, workflows. They're using APIs to plug into Xero, to Zapier, to your bank account. I can spend money on my ASB cash flow card, and instantly my AI dashboard will say, okay, cool, you've kind of exceeded your limit on pubs this week, JC. You might want to button back a little bit. I've gotten rid of that feature recently. I really don't want to know that. So time saving, I'm using it to do proposals. I'm using it in every part of what I do. So I'm working just as hard as I used to, but my output is significantly more. Revenue growth, that's what it comes down to, right? Helping you build your revenue through efficiency, time saving, also marketing. I'm working with a few companies now that they're looking to boost their revenue by actually doing AI-generated lead generation. So that's one aspect. Fewer mistakes. It doesn't get tired. It's 24/7. It's pretty consistent. Now, that's not to say that it doesn't hallucinate. We all know about the hallucination, right? Figures around about, up to 15%, depending on the LLM that you're using, okay? So hallucination is pretty rife. And I can go into detail as to why they hallucinate. But essentially, I think as you were talking last night, Lauren, it's, information in, being the prompt, it thinks about it and spits something out. So the prompt management and the prompt design is crucial. Most people I see when they're generating prompts in ChatGPT just put a couple of words or a sentence. That's not enough. That's cool to start with, but you'll end up spending an hour trying to generate one document. So the prompt is all key. So a few mistakes. What I also find is, which is not actually up here, is called the blank page. Have you ever sat there going, oh my God, I've got this proposal to respond to, an email to respond to, I have to come up with some kind of whatever it is in your business, you don't know where to start. So you can, what I say, vomit all your ideas into ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever you're using, and it will just come up with a bullet point. And then you can start thinking, and then you get on with it. So it gets rid of that kind of blank page, where do I start kind of thing, which I use it for all the time. As I mentioned, do more with the same team. Grow your output. That's what we're here to do, right? More efficiencies. Some of the concerns that people have about AI, I think you've all seen this, you've all heard this. Not about taking our jobs per se, although it's doing that right now with, like I said, I had a digital marketing company, still do, and I would get people overseas who are only $6, $7 US an hour to help me build websites for my customers. I actually don't need them anymore. I just do it with vibe coding, and I can produce a website from scratch with the right content, which I did for a customer yesterday, which I can show you in about 30 minutes for the framework, and I can punch it out in 4 hours. So yes, there are people that are losing their jobs in regards to having to pivot. So coders, who are normally coders, I think if you're going to university, you're a young person and you want to get into coding, it's probably not the right thing to get into. You might want to get into kind of AI generated coding and all those kind of support technologies. So yes, initially you may find employment hard unless you pivot to something else. Data, where does our data go? Going back to what I spoke to Brent about this morning, where is he? Over there. With the LLMs, anyone using a paid version of a ChatGPT Perplexity, I spend about $300 a month on tools for myself personally and for business. And the idea is that if you aren't paying for the product, you are the product. So is your information shared? Probably. If you're paying for it, there are some legal guardrails that forbid them from sharing that information. This is with the LLMs, which is ChatGPT. After the conversation's finished, it's supposed to go. Same thing with Copilot, which we'll get into with Liam shortly about the whole ring fencing thing. What if it gets it wrong? I see a lot of companies, you've seen it on LinkedIn, right? Probably 30% of all the content is AI generated. And I have to say, when I read AI generated content that comes out of a business or off LinkedIn, I'm like, really? That wasn't really thought through by that person. You get those emojis, you get those dashes. It's not a disrespect thing. It's like, come on, guys, at least when you're building the prompt, which I do if I'm going to use that to create content, as I say, don't sound like AI. Don't have emojis and get rid of those goddamn dashes. And that's the language I use. So yeah, what if it gets it wrong? It's always going to get it wrong in regards to hallucination. This comes to branding. So if you deploy AI tools across your business, you want to have a familiar message. You don't want somebody using one tool and somebody else using a different tool. So when you communicate with your customers and suppliers, they're getting mixed messages about, diluting your brand. So it's really important. We'll talk about that with AirPoint shortly. What if we spend money and it doesn't work? I like to use the terminology fail quickly. So deploy the tools, start playing. We'll help you get some workflows happening quickly and actually showing you, because we're using these tools. I'm using these tools constantly. I'm writing 2 or 3 apps a week for myself personally and for customers, POCs, proof of concepts. So we'll help you. You don't want to be, there are a lot of companies out there that are very familiar with AI technology, and they generally, some of the bigger players with 30 or 40 staff that specialize in that won't get out of bed for anything under 50K. So they're looking for that kind of activity. We're not interested in that at this stage, certainly. We're going to help you with the low-hanging stuff and get you some results really quickly. And as part of this presentation, if you don't have too many questions at the end, we'll build an app, we'll build a workflow, maybe write an agent in real time, and we'll show you how easy it is and how much benefit it can give you straight away. Company policy. This is kind of before you even start thinking about deploying AI. This is probably pretty obvious, right? As I mentioned too previously, you want to make sure that your message and your AI tools have some guardrails. There are products out there now that can actually enforce that policy. There's no point having a policy if it's not enforced in some way. So this is the first step. And we can help you write that policy for your business to make sure that, okay, cool, we've agreed that we're going to use Copilot, which uses other LLMs in the background like ChatGPT. And we're going to do a bit of a governance and sovereignty data review, hence AvePoint. We're going to get some training, i.e. Copilot through us or through one of our distributors directly. So all this kind of stuff needs to be set up first, and then you can deploy. We've had some customers that have just deployed. I'll be like, don't you want to check out your SharePoint security? And because oversharing, DLP, document leak prevention, is really important. I know a number of customers that have SharePoint shares that have gone out to an external party 2 years ago, and those shares weren't shut down. There should be a 7-day limit on those kind of external shares. And of course, you don't want the new person who's just being hired part-time for reception to getting access to the HR folder. Simple stuff like that. So with the AvePoint tools, we can lock that down. Does Microsoft do that natively with like Purview and other tools? Of course. it's going to take you a lot longer, and it's quite difficult, and you're going to have to pay somebody at least $120 to $220 an hour. Sorry, $180 to $220 an hour to do it. So AdPoint kind of adds to the, dashboard for Microsoft. Know what can be shared, as I kind of mentioned. You need to have some policy around what you do share. I've already covered that. Keep humans in the loop. There is autonomous agents. One of our partners that we work with, who Ruth at the back is familiar with, Michael. He's got a development company. He's been developing for 20 years. He now has 6 agents and bots running 24/7 writing code, and the bots check each other's code constantly. And these are people in the form of AI agents and bots that he doesn't need to employ to expand his business and expand his reach. That's where the complete autonomy comes in. You probably want to be a little bit before that and check what goes out first. So yeah, write me a statement of work, help me with the workflow, build this agent, but hang on a sec, before you give a result or talk to a customer externally, let me stress test that, okay? So that's where the keep humans in the loop is really important. Train your team, as I mentioned. That's where we come into it. We can help you train your staff one-on-one, one-to-many, webinar, whatever. We can give some YouTube videos. There's so many training tools out there. We can certainly help you with that. And review it regularly. It's changing so fast. Oh my God, it's just like crazy. The product that I've been using for the last 12 months, Replit, they just partnered with Microsoft about 4 months ago. They just announced. So there's all these acquisitions and partnerships that are constantly happening, and I'm in the weeds every single day, so I can be or Figure 8 can be your single source of truth when it comes to some of these changes. Where it gives you an advantage, I've already kind of touched on that. Automation is pretty important. I worked for a company prior to working for Figure 8. When I sold my business, I was working with them for 6 months, and we had thousands of transactions go through our voice over IP system and all these different fields. That would take someone probably 3 days to do manually. We automated that, and it took about 30 minutes on a bad day. So automation is key. Research, obviously, AI has scraped the internet. A lot of the machine learning base frameworks have scraped 300 billion web pages. They're now scraping video content off YouTube and TikTok. That's happening right now. So that was not happening about a year and a half ago. So yeah, researching into your competitors. Obviously, there's a bit of a hallucination around that because a lot of the websites, left or right leaning, can say different things and contradictions. So that's where you get some of the hallucination from. But using it as a research for, you've heard about ChatGPT for legal. There's ChatGPT for HR. There's ChatGPT for health. There's all these LLMs specifically targeted around certain data sources that are trusted. And every company on the planet that is in one of those verticals, certainly finance as well, are using these bespoke LLMs to get their information, trusted information. The blank page, as I mentioned before, just to get you kicked off. Customer communication, as I mentioned before, you've got to keep your message to your customers and suppliers straightforward and competent. Making sense of your data. I've already discussed that, making sense of your data, looking at spreadsheets, looking at images, looking at Word documents across your SharePoint, or maybe going externally to the internet, and then kind of coming back to you with a summary of whatever your question is. Content and creative, that's huge. I think there's a prediction that around 36% for this year of all internet traffic will be AI bot scrapers, specifically designed to scrape information from the internet and download into their repositories of information. In fact, what's happening now is there is a big ramp up, but what's happening now is companies are getting scraped and they're using technology to block these bot scrapers, saying, hang on a sec, show me some money before you start scraping my data. Thank you very much to teach you. So that's starting to happen now. People are pushing back. So it's going to be a very interesting year in regards to AI technology. But content and creative, I use it to create images. I did a PR campaign for a customer. It was 2 weeks ago, a property development company. I took the avatars off their website. I can show you if you like at the end of this presentation. So I got their faces, with their permission, of course. I create moving animated avatars and did a complete 20-second PR campaign about what they do. It scraped their website, it scraped their avatars, and that took me 2.5 minutes to create from scratch. It's crazy stuff. But of course, you can spend 2.5 minutes and then it'll take you maybe 3 or 4 hours to make it look really good. that's where the human gets involved, because obviously can't read minds, not just yet. We've got the Neuralink technology with Elon Musk, so it's coming. It's scary. It is scary. So what I'd like to do now is, Alexa, what time is it?
It's 9:50 a.m.
Boom. Look at that. Look at that. I'm actually not real. I'm actually an avatar. I'm actually at home. Cool, eh? New tech. I should have picked a different face though, eh? Brad Pitt. So yeah, I'd like to introduce Lauren. Lauren's brought her 2 colleagues. Lauren and her colleagues, Michael and Matthew, are here. Put your hands up, please. Yay. They're here for the week, and you're seeing MSP customers, distributors, and kind of talking about AvePoint. So what Lauren does and what AvePoint does, you've been around how long? 20 years? 25 years? Okay, cool. What AvePoint does, and I'll let them explain in detail, is, like I said, the data governance, data security, making sure that before you start chucking AI tools around your stuff, your PII, personally identifiable information for your business, they make sure it's all secure. So I'll pass you over. If you want a break to get coffee, we can break for a couple of minutes if you want.